Lord, I'm gonna become a mini American Major Kill, aren't I? I guess I don't really need to worry about that, given I talk more about the mechanics of the game than the lore of it. But I really like Warhammer, okay? I want to do a review on Rogue Trader and Black Crusade too, but let's talk about Warhammer 40,000 again. The Leviathan Box did not really make me happy. Don't get me wrong, there's aspects I love and hate, but I think the hate outweighs the love, to be honest. So let's talk about something I mentioned about in the last video about the Leviathan Box. The points of each part. So how 40,000 works is your opponent and you choose a number of points for your army. The standard official games are 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000. Though I've seen Apocalypse games go for 5,000, or hell, I've heard, but haven't seen anything, about one 10,000 game. This Leviathan Box totals the two armies as 1,560 points. Splitting this evenly, it would be 780 points each. Honestly, that's not bad for a starting game. But it's not. There's a huge problem with this. What's the problem? Well, they're not split evenly. The Space Marines have a lot less figures, but total up to 840 points. This gives the Space Marines a huge advantage over the Tyranids' 720 points. And the Tyranids have a lot more points than the Space Marines too. That's 120 points that could have gone to Tyranids, or they could have split the number evenly. And weirdly enough, my math might be wrong given the Terminators count in the teleporter beacons, which I have no idea how that works. In fact, let me just pull out the book and look. No, the teleporters are not part of the Terminator group. So I ain't sure how that works, which means I don't know how many points the Space Marines actually are. 120 points for Tyranids would be a lot of units. The box would need to be a lot more expensive, so it ain't likely Games Workshop would do such a thing. So, what about 60 points taken from the Tyranids, or from the Space Marines, and given to the Tyranids? Maybe reduce the Infernus squad, or put something else in? Then add another unit of Tyranids? I'd have to do 1,000 calculations in order to know exactly how this would go about it. Hell, such a change would probably rewrite the entire box. But it'd at least make it balanced. Hell, with the imbalance, the voting thing would make no sense. The Battle for Ogham, or Ogham, or whatever it's called, asks players to run a game and asks who wins. Leviathan Box has a lot of models, or a lot of game modes, but really only one killer be killed. Most players will make their own game with no objective. But personally, I'm kind of interested in the King of the Hill sort of game, just for capture point. It looks fun. Especially given most of my friends play different aliens, and I play Death Watch. But some would simply use the entire box, assuming they're even, which is the problem. The fact that there's a specific Tyranid unit meant to deal with Psychers while having 2 Psyker units themselves, while Space Marines only have a single character unit that's a Psyker, and has optional war gear, though no model options. Goes to show that Games Workshop might have actually known there was a huge power difference. Hell, the only benefit the Tyranids really have are their numbers, being able to make thousands of attacks in a single churn, are ridiculously fast, and the fact that they're damn near immune to battle shock. But Space Marines have sheer force behind them, which is very often how games churn out. Hell, almost nothing the Tyranids have armor piercing, which makes the Space Marines brutal. And with some stratagems you can use, the Space Marines can use Hellfire bolts to burn the Tyranids. I can't even blame the box for the stratagems, in all honesty. The book will always favor the Space Marines. But that's more of a complaint about 10th edition instead of the Leviathan box, so let's not go into that. Let's talk about another issue the box has. Customization. Peg pieces are what this box uses, which most starter boxes use. Makes sense, it's the cheapest way for a new player? Wait, what do you mean Kit Bash boxes are actually cheaper and come with extra pieces to actually kit bash with others, and the official glue is normally about $10, though you can get similar at Hobby Lobby for cheaper. Okay, let's compare these boxes together, because I don't feel like going into price and cost efficiency. Recruit box and the Leviathan box. Now, the Recruit box was the last box that I bought. It came with a single unit of Necrons and Space Marines. Are they equal size? Well, Space Marines have 165 points, while the Necrons have 200 points, which is an odd difference in favor of the Necrons. But the Recruit box also has specific scenarios that ask for specific units to teach you how the game works. But the minis are what I want to talk about. In the Recruit box, both Necrons and Space Marines, you have options. Head options and weapon options. The book itself gives you stats for each weapon too. You could have the Lieutenant with a face or helmet. You could give the Necrons a Gauze Reaper or Gauze Flayer. And the Necrons have multiple head options too. So you have options because faces suck to paint. But with the Leviathan box, you technically only have 2 options for units of both factions. A Terminator has 2 options, a helmet and a face. I chose the helmet, enough said. And the Infernus squad has 2 units. They use the same body. I literally put 2 cutouts of the same thing. For 2 different units are supposed to have 2 different weapons and 2 different heads. Meaning you have 2 head units of each option, so you could take the second head option and use it. It doesn't even look like it was intentional to be that way. And the Assault Intercessor that comes with the Recruit box gets multiple options. You can have heavy bolt pistols or plasma pistols or chainsaws. And like I said, 2 head options. I don't even know if the Tyranids have multiple options. Looking at it, not really, given my friend put them together around me, and he used every piece. How most of the Tyranid pieces already have their parts put into them. For example, the tiny little termagants have their guns as part of their bodies, just already connected. Sure, you can still paint the Space Marines in any way you want, thus making them whatever army you want. I paint them like Death Watch army and do little details on the shoulders and arms to make them more fitting. But I would really like more options. Even if I can't kit bash, I would like options where I can say, alright, do I want you to have this heavy gun or you to have this small gun and sword? The $60 recruit box gives you more options than the 240 box Leviathan, which I feel like shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be just... The larger box should have more options. It should give you maybe a smaller armies for each side, but actually give you options for each side. And this box was meant to teach you, so maybe taking options away can be less intimidating. I'll give that. That's a distinct possibility. Now, the good part of the box is that it comes with a lot of crap. Like, a lot of crap. It comes with a deck of cards to use in gameplay for stratagems, for data cards, for game modes, whatever have you, and even secondary objectives sort of things. It also comes with a core rulebook, which is very difficult to find because it keeps getting bought out. Keep in mind, a 10th edition core rulebook. I'm using it to teach myself the game very, very slowly. I only recently figured out how immunity and armor save ratings actually work, so, you know. Now, it also has taught me a few other things, like how knights are kind of ridiculous in 10th edition, and how there's a single unit of titans that is over 3,000 points. But that's not this video. Maybe I'll make one in the future, but for now, I don't care much for the Leviathan box. If you like customization and know how to balance the two sides, it's kind of a hit or miss. The customization options, if that's what you're into Warhammer for, you're not going to be too happy with the box. But if you know what you're doing, it can get you a lot of things ready and raring to start an army. In all honesty, it's a great box for teaching you the game. But it's not the best box for teaching you the game. And unfortunately, it sells out faster than a fire burns California. That's my opinion. I don't really like the Leviathan box. I understand why people like it, so if you have fun with it, go for it. But, you know, do all the stuff that the algorithm enjoys, like, share, whatever, but now, shove off.